Joyce Herb, guest designer with Cut at Home. Today we'll be looking at some crafting tips for people with challenged hands and also other techniques and products. Today we'll be making a masculine card using the Heartfelt Creations My Anchor Cling Stamp set. And I'll be coloring it with Copics. And I'm starting with C1. I'm putting a base of C1 on all the sails. I pre-stamped this onto some sand-colored cardstock, and this particular cardstock is pretty porous, so I'm putting a real light coat on so it doesn't absorb too much of the Copic ink, because it's not really going to get super smooth shading like you would on a Nina Solar White cardstock. But for this particular image, it'll look just fine. So I'm putting a quick base coat on with the C1, and then I'm going in with the C5, which is my darkest color, and I'm just adding a little bit of flicking in some color right along the edges where the stamp is actually detailed in those areas. And then I'll go in with the medium color, which is C3, and then smooth it all out with the C1 again. And then I do that for each of the sails. Just adding a little bit of the gray to the anchor. I didn't fuss with that too much. Now we're going to add some background color. And I'm using Distress inks. And right here, all I'm doing is testing out the inks that I've got. I've got Stormy Sky. Not sure what all colors are here. Stormy Sky, Bahama Blue, or Blue Lagoon. But I will list the colors on the blog post. I picked out 2 blues and 2 aqua colors. I'm going to be applying the color with my color box stylus. I start with the lightest color first, and going in one direction, I'm adding a light layer of color. And this takes a little patience. It doesn't take long, but it takes a little patience to gently add the color so you don't get splotches. So all I'm doing here is building up the color. Once I have a light coating in the entire bottom portion of the water, I'm taking the darker color, and from the outside I'm pulling in, and I am going in just one direction, which will extend the life of my sponges. And I don't mind that it's a little streaky. I'm not going for solid coverage here. And I will color the sky using the same techniques. Going in with my lighter color first. So I'm lightly pulling it in from each of the sides and along the top. Now I'm coming in lightly with the lighter color. And I go right over the sails. It doesn't hurt anything, but it fills in the empty spaces a little bit. I'm getting a lighter brown. I believe this is E43. And then I'll come in with a darker brown and just put a few lines in the bottom of the boat and between the sails to give it a little bit of definition. Not being too fussy here. Just giving it a little bit of dimension. I used my Zutter Distress It All to tear the edges of the cardstock, and now I'm using the darker blue Stormy Sky, I believe, to color the edges a bit. And I'm using the ink pad direct to it and also the sponge. I want some of the cardstock color to show through. And I'm going to add a little tiny bit of color to the sails. Now this is the Signo white gel pen, and I'm using it to add a little bit to the waves to make it look like the water's breaking a little bit. White highlights in water just add some interest. Before using a gel pen like this, be sure your ink is dry. Now we're going to be assembling the card, and I'm going to be assembling it with Angel Craft tape. And I made a base 6 by 12, scored at 6 inches. And I've got several sizes here. I've got the 1/2 inch, which is what I'll be using on this project. I've got a 1/4 inch, and I've got an 1/8 inch. The 1/8 inch actually has 2 rolls in it. I usually use the 1/8 inch on envelopes. Now this paper is from the coffee collection from Heartfelt Creations, and this is a paper from the Graphic 45 Safari collection. Here I'm just trying to get an idea where I want to lay it. This is just a piece of burlap from my stash. With all these layers and texture, I wanted to make sure I used really good, strong, sticky tape, and this tape is phenomenal. I'm using the permanent version. Now all I have to do is tape it all down and trim off the edges. This is the finished trimmed up base. I hope you enjoyed today's Maculine card project and maybe got some ideas for yourself. You can find the links to the products and written instructions at the Cut at Home blog. Have a great day.